Hi guys, so what I thought I'd go through today is a little bit of some footwork, looking at foot and ankle mobility and trying to get a little bit of fascia feedback through the soles of the feet. So we're going to start with standing warm-up. Now if you're uncomfortable in one standing leg postures, you can do this seated on the edge of your chair or against the wall using your hand to keep you nice and stable. So we're going to start on one leg. We want to make sure we're standing hip width, with the knees and feet facing the same direction, which is forwards. We've got soft knees and we're promoting a floated sternum with the shoulders drawn down gently. Now you can switch on your T-zone if you'd like to work the T-zone in this position too. We're going to weight bear through one leg. We're going to pull the heel off of the ground with one foot. We're going to reach it forwards and point through the front of the toe and the front of the foot line. Now this nice extension is nice and gradual. We're now going to flex the foot, push the heel down and pull the toes back towards our nose. Point and flex. Good. Point and flex. If you're a hyperextender, you'll need to think about keeping a little soft micro bend within the knee joint so you're not over-exaggerating the end of range in the joint, nor are you going to exaggerate the sciatic nerve. Point and flex. Good. Now we're going to take it into the ankle itself. We're going to roll through the ankle joint. You're going to try and keep your hip-knee alignment and allow the ankle to have its own range of motion, very isolated from the leg itself. So I'm working hard here to keep the leg still as I find this little bit of circumduction, which is not a full circle through the ankle itself. So after you've done a few circles each way, you can bring the foot to rest on the ground. Good. Now let's do a little bit of fascia rolling. So we're going to take a split stance, 1 foot forwards, 1 foot back. We're working the same side. We've got a soft bend in the back knee. We're going to start by placing the heel down, coming back to the flexed foot, push the heel down, flex the foot, pulling the toes up towards the nose and giving a soft bend in the back knee. Now I want you to think about rolling on the outside sole line of the foot, coming from the heel bone itself. You're going to roll along the outside sole line to your baby toe and then to your big toe. And notice I'm utilising this knee and hip directional movement, so the whole unit is moving as one. We're going to move back to the baby toe, back along the outside sole edge and back to the heel. You're rolling along the outside edge to the baby toe, to the big toe, to the baby toe and to the heel. Allow the whole leg to move as a singular unit. You're getting the direction leading from the foot fascia itself, and the knee and the hip are following, and you're keeping a soft micro bend in this back leg. Good. Now once you've done a couple of rolls along this outside sole line, you're now going to go to the middle sole line, starting at the very heel of the foot itself, rolling along the midsection of the foot, lifting up to the ball of the foot, and bend that front knee to push your weight forwards to come onto the very ball as if you're stepping into a high heel shoe. Lift the arch of the foot quite high up towards the kneecap. Then gently place the weight as you roll back, lifting up the toes to come into your heel. Good. Roll the weight forwards along the midsole line, come up onto the ball of the foot, a little press down as we bring the knee over the ankle here, coming into a nice high heel shoe, arching the sole of the foot, and roll it back and forwards. Now you're keeping this back knee nice and soft to limit the pressure through the lumbar spine, and we're just feeling this nice rolling along the sole. Good. Once we've done a couple of rolls through that midline, we're going to now take it to the inside sole line. Now be aware that the arch of the foot means there's a little gap missing. We start on the very heel bone in this foot flexion with toes lifted. We roll along the inside sole line to your big toe and now outwards to your baby toe. And come back to your big toe, pressing on the on the inside sole line and back to your heel. So roll along. You do have your arch which is missing contact with the ground, but you should still be able to manipulate the whole leg unit, getting its directional movement from the foot itself. Good. Once you've done a few, rolling along the inside sole line, let's do a little calf stretch. Calf and hamstring. So come back to your flexed foot, pressing the heel down, lifting the toes up towards your nose, keeping this leg fairly straight, a micro bend if you're a hyperextender. you're going to hinge your hips backwards, bringing the chest over the front thigh. Your hands can come to rest on the back knee. We're going to bend the back knee, pulling the toes on up, pushing the bottom back and down. Come into a hamstring stretch, the front leg stretching the back of the leg. From the side, it will look like so. Now, we don't want to promote the tailbone to lift. We want to keep the tailbone softly lowered. We're using the weight of our buttocks drawing back and down to lift the foot off the ground and get your hamstring stretched. Good. Once you've held your stretch for a few breaths, you're gently going to bend the front knee, place the weight down, and now I want you to transition. So straighten out the back leg, pressing down through the ankle and the heel of that back foot, and bend the front knee, bringing your weight gently forwards over the ankle. You'll notice I've got a nice incline from ankle to hip and shoulder, and I'm keeping my shoulders fairly relaxed. I'm using a little bit of the wall pressure here, pushing against it to push down through the heel. I've got 2 lines of push into the ground and into the wall to get my nice calf stretch. Nice deep breath in and out. Good, once you've held this for a few breaths, gently bend the back knee and see if you can come onto the very ball of the back foot and come into a slightly different foot stretch here onto the ball of the foot, using this bent knee position to give yourself a little bit more of a stretch along that bottom sole of the foot. Be gentle. Take a nice deep breath in and out. Keep the chest floating. Keep that little hip hinge from hip to shoulder line. Take a deep breath in and out. And when you've had enough, slowly lift yourself on up, slide your feet back in, and have a little break. Now, your overpoint stretch might be very useful for you if you've got particularly high instep. You can bring yourself again to face a wall so that you've got something to press your hands against. Instead of being on the ball of the foot with the toes pushed forwards like so, we're actually going to tuck the toes under, curling them under. We're gently going to bend the front knee and have a little stretch of the front of the foot itself and the shin. Now, you're being very gentle with the amount of pressure that you place down. Just let the weight of this leg do the workload for you. If you want to make the stretch bigger at any time, you can bend your supporting knee, gently lower your buttocks and come into the nice loaded stretch here. Now, you're holding your stretches for 5 to 10 breaths on overpoint. You're never ever going to try and lift, you're never going to try and hold your full weight on this overpoint. It's a very gentle stretch. Once you've had enough, you slowly uncurl the toes and roll back down through the fascia of the feet, and you can repeat sides. Now, for those of you that are flattening through the foot, have fallen arches, or have an issue with flattening the fascia of the feet itself, a low instep as it was, you're going to need to work to be mindful of lifting your arches, and it can be a little daily practice that you do. If I stand side on, you'll be able to see the side profile of my inside sole or my instep. From here, if I was to flatten out the arch, you'll notice that I shift my weight forwards, my chest over my ankle, and I'm trying to really keep my gait, my heel and my toes on the ground. This promotes a lot of pressure down to the Achilles tendon, and you need to have high ankle mobility in order to keep yourself going in this way, or you might start to stress and shorten the calf line, the hamstrings, and that will naturally try and pull the hips back, stressing the hip flexors. So here you can see that foot fascia might have a greater chain reaction going up the leg itself to the hip and the lower back. So what you can do is, placing your foot in this side profile, take a nice deep breath in. You can work the T-zone and switch it on if you'd like. You're going to keep a soft bend in both knees. Now I want you to imagine that you're doming your arch, lifting it from the ground, putting some gentle pressure through your toes and lifting the arch towards your kneecap. You should feel the front of your shin switch on slightly to lift the arch of the foot, and you've located the arch here. Then as you softly let it go, you can notice that you've flattened the foot on out, and there's not as much pressure or activation through the front of the shin or the front of the foot. Again, if you was trying to dome your arch on up, you'd lift it up towards your kneecap, and you might feel pressure through the front of the foot, the toes, and also the front of the shin. Now, if that's quite difficult for you and you'd like a little bit more of a tactile feedback, you can take a ball of blue tack or something that's got equal density that you can place on the ground and then place the sole of your foot over. So now you can see my insole is resting on the ball of blue tack. Now, I don't have an issue with falling arches, but when I show you, I'm doming my arch on off. I can feel that I've lifted my foot fascia, or the bottom of my foot, my arch, off of the ball of glute tac, and I can feel the shin on, and then as I let it go, I feel myself flatten on out. So this is something that you can practice if you need to be mindful of lifting the arch of the sole of the foot itself. Other than that, there are some other fun activities you could do at home. If you've got a resistance band, you can use that. If you've got a piece of fabric, a scarf or whatnot, you can also use that. What you're going to do is called toe scrunching. So I've lengthened out my band on the ground here. I'm going to place the foot that I'm using onto the band. I'm going to take a split stance, and again you can have yourself positioned against the wall. Keep your knees, hips and feet facing the same direction. Have the T-zone on if it helps you promote a nice neutral spine. Soft bend in the knees. And you're going to try and scrunch your band towards you using the front of your foot and your toes. So light pressure through the toes, scrunch under and try and grab the band. Now my band seems to be, oh there you go, seems to be sticking towards the floor. Good. So you're scrunching and pulling the band towards you. And you'll notice that as you pull the toes under, you're doming the arch naturally. So if I show you from this profile with the inside foot, you'll be able to see I'm lifting through the arch of my foot to scrunch the band in. And this is a nice practice to do if you have flat feet or if you have an arch issue that you're trying to correct. Good. And try and scrunch the band to pull it into you and see if you can get all the way to the end of the band. Try that on each foot. You can try something different. If you've got carpet, the band might work a little bit easier. If you've got wooden floor, my band tends to stick, so I'll be here forever trying to scrunch the band inwards. Some other things you can do is what's known as toe grabbing using some pens. So I've got 2 pens here. Start with a thick pen. A thicker pen is easier than a small pen. Standing upright with hip width once more and soft knees. Again, balance aid if you need it. You're going to try and grasp your pen using your toes. Like so. So if you can grasp the pen using your toes and the ball of your foot connection, you'll also be utilising the arch of your foot by lifting or doming the arch. And then you can place it down and try the other side. So my foot, my right foot, is my bad foot. It's got my bone disease, and I have to try really hard to get the inside sole of the foot to arch to pick up the pen. Let's try a slightly smaller pen, which, oh, I got it, which is usually more challenging. The thicker the pen, the easier it is. So have a go. Try monkey foot, such as this, scrunching your toes over a pen to dome the arch of your foot, and try to do 5 or 10 on each side. Now, if you're looking for a slightly deeper calf stretch, you might be able to utilise the wall or possibly a yoga block if you've got one at home. A yoga block such as this one is good because it's quite dense, but it's not so thick. It's not as dense as, say, a concrete paver or the curb. You want to use something that's fairly gentle on the foot but gives you enough pressure to push down into. So a foam yoga block is usually quite good. Again, you could use pressing the front of your foot against the wall. Also, if you don't have a yoga block, I'm going to show you the yoga block because I think it's a good angle. So here, if I press the ball of my foot just before the crease where my toes are onto the yoga block itself, I'm going to bring myself into split stance once more just to show you. Otherwise, you could have feet level, depending on how you feel. Bringing your toe crease onto the block as such, push your heel down. Now, as you bend your knee forward, you'll get a slightly different ankle, which is an Achilles, and calf stretch here. You can hold this section of your stretch, provided that you're feeling it in the back of the calf. You might have to shuffle yourself around and find the right point. It might be that you need to bring the ball of the foot a little bit higher to get the calf stretch that you need. So you might even be on the very edge of the ball of the foot just before it meets that arch point. Once you've got the knee bent, you can hold this for a few breaths. To take the stretch a little bit differently, we can straighten out the front leg and hinge forwards, chest line over big toe. Keep your back in neutral, and if you've got your T-zone on, that will help you. And with this straightened foot, you can push the heel, straightened leg, you can push the heel down and get a slightly different calf stretch. The 2 calf muscles that we're focusing on, gastrocnemius and soleus, work very differently. Gastroc works with a little bit of knee flexion and soleus with a straight leg. So those two muscles are something that you can work on in standing calf stretch, such as this. Again, this can equally be done with the toes against the wall. You'll need to find the right angle. I find that the yoga block puts you in a certain amount of angle of ankle flexion. So it gives you just the right amount of stretch. And also you can press down through the big toe a little bit more and get yourself a little bit of a different stretch here. Keep the knee pointed over the foot and facing forwards along with the hips. Try not to twist through the knee or the hip joint. Keep it solely alignment foot, knee, hip, so that you're really getting that nice chain reaction as you work up the calf and into the back of the knee itself. So once you've stretched your calves, you can now do a little bit of strengthening. We'll do our calf raises for this one. I'm standing side on to show you, and again you can have your hand against the wall if you need to. From this position, if you are a flattened arch type of person, you'll need to dome your arches and feel yourself connected to the ball of your foot and your heel. With the T-zone on and the sternum floated, we're going to exhale, peel the heels off, roll off our heels as we arch through the soles of the foot to come onto the ball and lift the arches. Good, stay tall, keep the crown lifted, and then inhale, slowly come back down. Now your way down is slow because you're feeling your arch slowly roll back and your heel gently placed on the ground. You'll notice that as I exhale to peel the heels on off, I'm lifting directly upright, not forwards. I'm trying to keep a nice alignment of ankle bone, hip and shoulder with the sternum floated. So if I lift on up, I can feel that I'm directly lifting up onto the ball of the foot, and I'm training the calf and the foot muscles to come into this nice directional lifted motion, rather than really straining and rolling through knee, hip or ankle. We want to keep the mobility in this nice flexion or point of the foot and flexion of the ankle, so that we're not going to roll on out and cause any damage to any of these smaller muscles that help the ankle instability. So there's your calf raise. If you want to try something a little bit more challenging, you could try your single leg calf raise. So for single leg calf raise, I'm coming into sort of a flamingo. I'm just pressing the inside sole of my foot and big toe into my ankle. I'm keeping the sternum floated, both knees and hips facing forwards. Again, I want to take my deep breath in to prepare, and on the exhale, lift off my heel, roll through the ball of my foot and lift on to my ball. Good. And then slowly transfer back down. Making sure that this weight bearing is gentle, so I'm not taking it to the point where I'm really high and I fall forwards. I'm always monitoring whether I can hold this weight distribution through the ankle joint. And this might be good for you if you've got one ankle that needs a little bit more TLC strengthening than the other one. But be really, really gentle with this exercise. The last exercise we can do is called tendon stretch. It's a little variation on your calf stretch with a squat motion. So you know your squat positioning is knees bending gently over the front of the foot, the bum pushing back and down, the back remaining in neutral. We're going to add those two together. So I'll show you side on what it looks like. It might be too much in your ankle mobility. You might not have enough range in that joint. In which case, leave it alone. Don't do this one. You can try this at home if you'd like. You're coming into a calf raise, so you make sure that you peel off of your heels, roll through the arches onto the ball of your foot. Now you want to keep your spine quite lifted and tall, and we're going to gently bend the knees forwards. You'll notice I haven't shifted out of my neutral spine. I'm keeping my knees aligned over my feet, and then I want to lift a little bit higher onto the ball of my foot and drop a little bit lower into a squat. I've got a really strong stretch through the bottom of my feet. I'm going to push my heels down now with bent knees and then gently lift myself upright. A little bit intense on the on the bottom of the feet, the Achilles and the calf muscles, but if you're able to, give it a go. So calf raise up on the exhale, coming onto the very ball of the foot. Stay lifted through the spine, softly bend through the knees. The knees want to track forwards. I'm keeping myself fairly upright. Now I want to make sure I'm on the very ball of my foot, so I lift my arches a little bit higher. I push my bum a little bit lower and more into a squat position. See my alignment from hip and shoulder. spine in neutral. Push the heels down with bent knees and exhale, push myself on upright. Good, exhale, calf raise. Inhale at the top, bending gently through the knees forwards. Lift the balls higher. Exhale, drop the bum back and down. Good, inhale, heels come down and exhale, push myself on up. Good, and again, exhale, calf raise. Inhale at the top, bending the knees gently over the front of the foot. Good, we're going to make sure we're on the very ball of the foot here. Drop the bum back and down a little bit deeper. Exhale. Inhale, heels come down with bent knees. And exhale, push yourself on upright. One more. Exhale, calf raise. Good. Gently inhale at the top with bent knees. Good. Coming onto the very ball of the foot. Drop your bum a little bit lower. Exhale. Making sure neutral spine and knee alignment is facing forwards. Good. Drop the heels to the mat. Inhale, stretching through the ankle. And then exhale, push against the ground upright. Have a go with your tendon stretch. If it's too much on the ankle itself and the bottom of the foot, leave it alone. Now we're going to finish with some lovely band work, just working into resistance to really get a nice release through the ankle and the feet itself. So in seated, you can pop yourself on a pillow if you like. I've rolled my mat away. I'm going to straighten out the legs. So if you find it quite hard to sit upright in this position, being on a pillow where your buttocks is slightly, or your hips, are slightly higher than your heels is going to make that a little bit easier. Hips high, heels low, a little bit less strain on your hip flexors, your back, if you're unable to sit tall. Now we're going to work 1 foot at a time, so we're going to wrap the band around our feet. Now we want to make sure that the band actually covers the big toe. It creates a nice cocoon around the ball of the foot and the top section of the arch. So now as we slide the leg long, we've already got a little bit of tension on the band, and I'm going to cross over the band just to keep the tension nice and strong. Run the hands down the ends of the band and gather up the resistance as you see fit. Elbows back and down into those ribs, shoulders drawn down, and sit tall. Now if it helps, you can bend this supporting knee. You can also switch on the T-zone. If it helps you sit upright, I would suggest that you do. And let's do a little bit of point and flex here. So we're going to begin by pointing forwards, and I want you to really point forwards into the band, point your toes, and really try and stretch. You might float the back of the knee off the ground, particularly if you're seated on a pillow and your hips are higher than your heels. Really try and stretch through the foot and the leg and the knee, and then come into flex, drawing the toes towards your nose, pressing your heel outwards. Good. And point. Good, making sure you really point out through your big toe, making sure you stretch forwards, stretching through the foot, the front of the foot, the shin, the knee itself, and then flex, toes to nose, push the heel away from you. Lovely, get that stretch now along your calf, the back of your knee, a little bit of your hamstring. So point, oh, you heard that click, that would be my toes, and flex. So you'll do this for a few times, the point and flex, making sure that you're really aware that when you're pointing, it's not just the toe, it's the front of the foot, the shin, the front of the knee, and a little bit of the quadriceps switching on, lengthening the leg. And then as you flex, pushing the heel away from you, toes towards you, you feel your calf stretch, a little bit at the back of the knee, and maybe even a little bit of the hamstring if you're seated nice and tall. So that's the first one, point and flex. Good. From this point, we're going to do a little bit of a wave motion. So we're going to scrunch our toes over the band. From here, you're going to point forwards, keeping that scrunch. Then you're going to allow your toes to flex and pull back towards you, followed by the foot as you push the heel away. Good, stay upright. So scrunch toes over the band, and then point the toe forwards with scrunched round over feet. Good, then allow the toes to gently pull back with the resistance of the band. Then follow that flex of the foot, pushing the heel away. Good, scrunch and forwards with scrunched toes. Toes pull back, followed by the foot itself, and the heel presses away. Good, so this nice wave motion should feel nice and gentle on the foot. It'll take a few repetitions for you to find a nice feeling, utilizing the foot itself, and then following with the ankle. Make sure that when you lift the toes, pulling them towards your nose, They get the most out of that stretch first before you follow with the foot and the heel. Good. And then we're going to reverse it. So once you've done a few of those, you're then going to take it the opposite way. So we're going to point the toes again, then we're going to scrunch the foot. And as you can see, I'm really scrunching as I come into foot flexion, pulling the front knuckle of my big toe towards my nose and pressing my heel outwards, and then I release the toes. So I'm going to point forwards, really pointing through the front of the foot and the toes, scrunch the toes over, and then arching the foot, as well as drawing that big toe knuckle towards my face, and then letting the toes go in your foot flexion. Point forwards, scrunch the toes around the band, then let the knuckle draw towards you, and let the foot uncurl the toes. So point, scrunch, really using the arch of the foot as you flex the foot here, and then come back to flex foot. Good, let's let go of the band. Let's have a little bit of a break here. Roll the wrists and scrunch up the fingers.